On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks get a Game 3 win at home, and it turns out role players do play better at home. We'll tell you why in today's Locked on Mavs. And welcome. You're locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network, where we let it ride. Thanks for being part of the show. Make it Locked On Mavs here. First, listen today, where the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day, leave a 5-star review on any podcast platform, like the video on YouTube, and comment anything below. Let me know in the comment section. Actually, just say "let it ride" in the comment section, and then go to Locked On Clippers and just comment "let it ride" on Locked On Clippers YouTube channel. And joining me, as he does on every post game, live via the AAC, unblock him.
Unblock me.
The famous Slightly Biased. What you got for me?
Two things. I need you guys to understand I was wearing my shirt, and if you're at the game, you're like, White, was he in the 300s? Yes, I was in the 300s, where all the real fans are. But also, second, if I was offbeat dancing, I can't hear the music.
You can't hear it.
So it wasn't me.
It was off because of my lead.
Yeah, it was not me.
Oh, man. We're here after a Game 3 win by the Dallas Mavericks. We'll talk about how the role players stepped up, how the bigs were massive in the first half. We'll talk about how Luka and Kyrie got some help.
Yeah.
Got some help in this game.
A lot.
Which is absolutely massive. But I just got to let it ride a little bit more.
If you say so, I can't hear again, in case you're wondering. In case it looks wonky.
Just in case. It's not because we're white. It's just,
right. I usually have great rhythm.
Oh, man. Absolutely awesome. The Mavericks get the win. They crack 100 points, 101 to 90.
That's a miracle.
In this game. And I guess I'm going to start here. I told the subtexters before, I texted everybody and I send, here are my keys to the game, or here are my things that I'm watching in the game. And the one thing that I really wanted to say was, at some point this Mavs offense is going to break open. The dam is going to break, and the Mavericks are going to score in a way that they haven't so far in the series. 105.5 offensive rating in both the first two games. And in this one, the first quarter was not looking like I was going to be right about that prediction at all. But then the second quarter, you get 36 points from the Mavericks. That second quarter, I feel like, really broke the game open. The Mavericks were getting a lot of things rolling, and then we finally got to see this Mavericks offense acting like a real NBA offense again. It only took one quarter, but that's what they got.
Well, what did Luka finish with this game? 9 assists? It felt like finally, because we had talked about this, like at some point, Luka is going to kind of figure some stuff out with this offense.
Yeah.
And he saw it with the lobs, because Gafford, I mean, if Gafford has a bad game in this one, that might be the series for him. Like, genuinely.
Yeah, right, yeah. Can we use this guy? People were asking me before the game, hey, is Gafford going to play? And I was like, he may play, but what are we even going to get from him if he plays in this game?
And Gafford was questionable coming into this game, a game-time decision. And immediately, I mean, right out the gates, they had the lob threat going with him and with Gafford and Lively. And, I mean, that just offensively got the ball rolling. And we saw it, like, I don't know what Luka finished shooting-wise. They don't display those stats here at the game. And I was so locked in that I couldn't quite tell you.
7 of 25.
28% from the field.
28%.
I would have guessed it was that. I would not have guessed 28% from the field. But, I mean, you could see, though, that he was figuring it out. And I think that's what offensively you want to see. I was rewatched game 2, and you could just tell the offensive process, even though they didn't break 100 points, the offensive process was just so much better in game 2. Like, they got so many good looks, and they just failed to convert them. And I think the same thing can be said for tonight. And you win a game in which your megastar, you win a game where you shoot 26, is that what that says? 26% from 3, and your megastar shoots 28% from the field, and Kyrie has 2 points with like 4 minutes left in the third quarter. And I mean, that's just a testament to, again, you got the bigs going early and often. And you could feel that. You could just feel how that shifted the entire scheme for the Clippers.
That set a tone, and it was right from the beginning of the game. You saw that the Clippers weren't sending the help over to the roller, and they've been doing that the first 2 games. The low man, whoever it was, Terrence Mann or whoever, would come over, and they started doing that in the second half. They would send the low man over to help on the roller, and they just didn't do that in the first half. There's a scout next to me that was just like going off about how are they not sending this help to the roller, and they're just giving these wide open alley-oops, and they're giving up these buckets there. And the Mavs got offensive rebounds too. Gafford, in the first couple minutes of the game, you could tell the Mavericks were going right for Gafford every single time. They're like, we got to get this guy going, got to get this guy involved and participating in this series. And he gets 6 points and 3 offensive rebounds really quickly in this game, and that set a tone for the rest of it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's, again, like, I'm not entirely sure why the Clippers made that defensive decision. I'm not entirely sure if maybe they had the mindset a lot of us have had, which is Luka's going to have his game at some point.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure that we don't allow that to happen. And we talked about Luka's shooting percentage, but again, like, I thought the Mavs offense got the looks that they wanted, and a lot of those looks being lobs at the rim. I mean, those are the shots that the Mavs want when they run those pick and rolls.
Yeah.
They want either Luka stepping back or the Mavs, lobbing it up to Gafford or Lively. And they got those. And without those two playing as well as they did, I don't know if the Mavs pull out this win. And, I mean, they pulled it out comfortably. Like, if I was telling Nick before we went live, my voice sounds hoarse. I was getting into it. You guys need to understand. Like, I was really into it.
Extremely biased in this game.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm just going to say it. This is a horrible loss for the Clippers. Like, this is a disastrous.
You think so?
Yes. This is a disastrous loss for them. They cannot have a loss like this where the Mavs shoot 26% from 3, Luka shoots 29% from the field, and Kyrie has 2 points with 3 minutes left in the third quarter. You can't lose that game. You just cannot in a playoff setting where you only have 4 chances to beat the other team. Like, I guess 7 chances technically, but it's just like,
7 chances to beat them 4 times.
7 chances to beat them 4 times. Everyone got where I was going with that one. But it's just like, I think this is a really bad loss for the Clippers. And if you're the Mavericks, you're walking out here thinking, we're gonna get a 3-point shooting game at some point.
You think the Mavericks will? They'll
Yes.
get a good offensive game? That was my thing. Is like eventually this is going to break open for the Mavs offense because this Clippers defense is not that good.
No, I mean,
right? Like even at their best during this season, they were 13th or 14th in the NBA.
Yeah.
They weren't like a top 5 defense where you go, oh my gosh, this Clippers team is such a good team. But this Clippers team, last 2 games, 101.1 offensive rating, exactly the same in both these losses. The Mavericks defense just put clamps on them, and they couldn't get anything going. And all the stuff I said about Kawhi making their offense worse in the last couple episodes between games 2 and game 3, it was exponentially more in this game where they just didn't have the diversity, they didn't have anything really going, and the Mavs got all the hustle plays. I mean, Josh Green was in there getting hustle plays, PJ Washington, Derrick Jones Jr., everybody. I felt like they were getting the hustle plays in this game, which makes it seem like an even worse loss for the Clippers because they're old and they weren't winning those possessions.
I'm so happy you mentioned Josh Green. He was so good. I don't know what his stat sheet says.
You want to look at it?
Because, usually I'm at home and I have all the stats just delivered to me. But here, 3 of 5, 8 points. Like, it's not blowing you away. 5 rebounds, 2 offensive. His energy and effort in this game was unbelievable. Like, that's the type of role player performance you need in the playoffs, is a guy just showing up to the game and saying, hey, I'm not scared of this moment. I'll shoot when I'm open, and I'm going to make the hustle plays. I'm going to make the other team pay whenever they fall asleep. I'm going to get an offensive rebound. I'm going to tip the ball out. I'm going to keep the play alive. Like, Josh Green, I thought was incredible in this game. All of the role players were incredible. I mean, did anybody have a bad game in this? Like,
Exum.
Role player-wise? Exum is scaring me a tiny bit.
Exum played 11 minutes. He was 0-4, but we don't have to focus on him
Right.
just yet because the role players did play better at home. This is something that I wondered, and I asked Dana Larson on the episode the other day, is this a fallacy that role players just play better at home? And so I asked Ty Lue about it actually before the game, and he had not been answering a lot of questions this whole time in games 1 and 2, and even before this one, he was shooting down some questions. There's a lot of Kawhi stuff that he was just shooting down with one-word answers. I mean, it felt Greg Popovich-ian.
Yeah.
But I asked him, I said, you've played in the NBA. Do you believe in the idea that role players play better at home? And he goes, well, I was a role player. And then he said, and Allen Iverson stepped over me. No, he didn't. He didn't say that.
Okay, I was about to say, well, that is true.
Do you remember?
That did happen.
I was a role player. Do you remember when Allen Iverson stepped over me that one time? That was like the greatest thing. But guess what? We beat them in 5 games.
That's true.
He said, I was a role player, and I liked playing on the road better than playing at home. And maybe that was just, I think that was just what he thought at that time. But I thought that was interesting that he said that, and it proved to not be the case at all for the Mavericks because their role players really did step up. You got 13 points from Lively, you got 11 points from Derrick Jones Jr., 10 points, and a great, incredible pose from PJ Washington.
Oh my God.
I mean, just one of the greatest Mavs moments. So coming up, let's talk about that. Let's talk about PJ Washington in the moment with Russell Westbrook. Let's talk about Luka and Kyrie not really getting into their bag or their offense at all. We'll talk about that and more coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by Nissan. Would you like to take your ride a little bit further? Check out Nissan and check out the 2024 Nissan Rogue. You've got the 2024 Nissan Rogue. It's perfect for city drives and great escapes. It's got the class exclusive Google built in for all the updating things that you need all the time. Gone are the days of connecting your phone. You got the Google Assistant, you got Google Maps, and you got the Google Play Store right there, built into your car. That's pretty cool. And the 12.3-inch HD touchscreen infotainment center, the 2024 Nissan Rogue is the perfect midsize crossover for your next big adventure. And also check out the 2024 Nissan Armada. It will change what you expect from a full-size SUV. Picture a 4x4 that you can seat in up to 8 in first-class luxury and style, tow bigger and explore further in the 2024 Armada. Take the Nissan Rogue, the Pathfinder, or the Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. Also, want to tell you about BetterHelp. Everybody's got stuff. Everybody's got things they're thinking about. I think Russell Westbrook will be thinking about this game for a little while, thinking about his actions and thinking about how his actions may have affected other people. If you have things in your life where you're like, man, the words that I said or the actions that I made hurt some people, and I got to think through it and I got to work through it myself, maybe you need to go to therapy. Maybe you need to talk to somebody, and BetterHelp is a place where you can do that. I've gone to BetterHelp. I've used it before. I like that it's flexible, suited to my schedule. I can pick whenever I want my time to be. It's not just stuck in one time of the week. So if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible, suited to your schedule. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. Thanks to everybody that I saw here at the game tonight, and thanks to every single person, all, like, honestly, 25 of you that said let it ride to me at some point tonight.
Nice.
And one listener came up and said, we need to get a let it ride chant after Mavs wins at games. And I was like, I don't know if I have that much power yet. Maybe I'll get there. I don't know if I'm full cult leader yet that I can make that happen.
We're close.
But you know who is on his way there? It's Slightly Biased. He is on his way there.
I appreciate everyone who came up to me. It was a lot of people, and I really do appreciate that. I came with a group of friends, and I was like, I'm sure that you guys know. I don't know how this is gonna play out.
Hey guys, I'm going to this game tonight, and I appreciate you guys coming with me, but I might be famous. And I
literally did know. I was like, I don't. There could be zero. I have no clue how this is gonna transpire.
So shout out to everybody that came up to us at games. We appreciate it and appreciate you guys listening and all that.
I also want to say, I don't know, like in a live thing, how often do I look at the camera? How often? Because I like eye contact, but then it's like I don't want to be the whole podcast like, yeah, no, great point, Nick. That was good.
I can take direction. Would you like more eye contact?
Yeah, we could just sit here like this the whole episode. The viewers are just like, what the hell's going on in this show? A lot of tension.
They won't look each other in the eyes at all. These guys even like each other? I don't know. You know who does like each other? The Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, they do.
This chemistry on this team is feeling special, and it's feeling like this team is totally connected. Russell Westbrook, who I dubbed a WWE star back when I went to Game 1 and Game 2 in LA. He's playing to the crowd. He's egging them on. He's screaming at the crowd in LA, like getting them. He's from there, and they cheer really loud every time he checks in. Honestly, it's probably the loudest I heard them cheer in LA was when Russell Westbrook checked into the game. Not like a moment he had, but when he checks in, they're ready, and they're like, they want him out there, and they're excited for him.
Can I say I love it personally? I do.
Oh, it's fun.
I know, like he's gonna be the heel in this series, and Mavs fans, rightfully so. We should boo him and you know all of that stuff when he's on the court. Personally, as a basketball fan, I think it's awesome. I think it's great, and this is the type. You know, you felt it in this game, really.
Absolutely.
Like, honestly, through this like rivalry that these two teams have, it doesn't really feel like a rivalry a lot of the times.
Well, the main players, Kawhi, Paul George, are just like mild-mannered. They don't really talk a lot, and they don't really get in your face. Even like Terrence Mann, like kind of complains, but doesn't really like.
Right.
I mean, he was jarring at guys a little bit here and there. Zubats, he's not going to get in guys' face and do that.
Isn't doing that.
Think about the Mavs side of it. I guess Josh Green a little bit, but he hasn't played that much. Maxey, he'll get
There's not a lot of guys who get minutes on the Mavs who were in that series a few years ago.
No. And so Westbrook in the second quarter is chasing down Josh Green and nails him in the back of the head on a dunk attempt. And I said immediately, it's at least a flagrant one. At least.
I thought that was a good call, flagrant one.
At least. And then he as soon as it's done, the crowd's cheering at him. He looks at the crowd and goes, nah, that's nothing. Like looks at everybody.
Oh, that's not all he said.
there are kids listening. I have met some of those kids.
That's true. There are. I
They listen
witnessed
to the
it.
show. I cannot say the things that he said, and neither should you. You shouldn't say those things that Russell Westbrook
I
said
thought Nick
either.
was always lying about that, but he's true.
And so then he gets a flagrant one on that one.
Yeah.
And then with 6:10 left in the game, he has a hard foul on Luka where he grabs his arm and like spins him around.
Hard
It's
foul.
Not a basketball move. And you know it's not a basketball move because if you follow Grant Assef on Twitter, he's 100% all basketball all the time. Like not really like fan commentary from him.
That's true.
And he was like, he like finally commented like another quote unquote basketball play from Russell Westbrook. And I was like, if you lost Grant in the basketball thread, you've lost the plot in the game, 100%. I think. And so Westbrook, you know, he then, you know, Luka gets in his face after that,
Love
and then
that.
Westbrook gets in his face, and then PJ comes over to defend Luka because PJ has been that guy that will come over and defend. And so Westbrook shoves Luka, Westbrook shoves PJ, and then PJ just kind of stands over on the side,
Stares at the Clippers bench.
Oh, just absolutely.
That's
amazing.
at least what it looked like from my angle, way up in section 700,
where
he was just.
The pose was actually before that. 10-24, PJ and Man.
Oh,
PJ and
that's
Man,
right. That's right. That's right.
They're different moments. I was just talking about the Westbrook
You're
part.
right. My
of it.
bad.
But yeah, he shoves him. He gets ejected. But PJ also gets ejected for that Westbrook thing because earlier in the fourth quarter, him and Terrence Mann are getting into it as Terrence Mann's trying to bring up the ball or something like that. And Terrence Mann is like jawing at him and kind of like pushes him and is trying to get to him, and the refs are like, he's doing like hold me back, bro, to the refs. And PJ just stands like this. Just stands like this and poses. You've probably seen the picture by now on Instagram or Twitter or wherever. And just poses. It honestly, that was the hardest I've ever laughed at an NBA game.
Oh.
Because I was staring right down the barrel at PJ's pose. Like right from where I'm sitting, he was as if he was doing it at me. And I was dying laughing because it was so funny. Just the juxtaposition of PJ doing the pose like off to the distance, and then Terrence Mann like trying to get to him. It was like a cartoon, and then
it was pretty funny.
And then you see Luka come like skipping in, just cracking up and like laughing at it. The chemistry on this team, man, is something else right now.
Yeah, I mean, the crowd. I can't like. It's been a long time since I've experienced a Dallas Mavericks home crowd, and I had people tweet at me. They're like, "Is the crowd as dead as it sounds on ESPN?" The answer to that question is no. I thought the crowd was very into it tonight. And there was a stretch in the third quarter where the Mavs offense was struggling mightily, and a lot of that was due to like some terrible shots and turnovers and stuff. But man, when that PJ Washington moment happened with Terrence Mann, and he's sitting there at half court with his arms crossed, the crowd was so into it, man. Like I just feel like this fan base has been waiting for so long for just some, and you know, we had it with Dorian because Dorian was that guy. And you could just feel it anytime Dorian did anything, everyone loved it. But then since Dorian's left, we've been trying to replicate that, and Grant tried it, but it always felt, God bless Grant Williams, but it always felt like manufactured. Rest in peace. May his soul rest.
Didn't die. He's just playing for the Hornets. He's not dead.
The equivalent of a basketball death. But it was just always felt manufactured. And PJ, he really has it. Like in Gafford, he gets a block and he's yelling at the crowd, and everyone is just going crazy. Lively does anything, the crowd goes crazy. Like there's so many electric guys on this team, and I think it goes through not only the crowd but the team. They love it.
It absolutely does. This crowd loves an offensive rebound, a hustle play, stuff that Josh Green does. I mean, everybody, they're going crazy for it. And you got it. You got it in this game. Like, you got those things. Mavs had 7 blocks. They had 12 steals in this game. The Clippers turned it over 19 times. Mavs only turned it over 8 times. Like, they got a lot of great stuff in this game. And the Clippers, they didn't shoot the ball well in the second half at all. I think they shot well. They shot 3 of 12 from 3 in the second half. The Mavs just clamped down on them.
This defense, man.
It's real. This Clippers offense is, I just have to reiterate this. This Clippers offense is supposed to be very, very good.
I mean, even like some of the shots, especially in the first quarter, that Harden and Paul George and Kawhi later in the game were hitting, it was like, hey, you live with that shot. Like, there's just like no contest for any of those shots. The effort, and I don't know if it's just like this game specifically or if it's just more apparent in person, but like the effort the Clippers have to exude to get anything offensively is insane. Like, I haven't seen anything like it from a Mavericks team in the Luka era for sure, even going back to 2022. Like, their defense was good because they flew around and they hustled, but this is like smothering stuff. Like, they prevent teams from even getting open looks at all, even from 3. Like, it's insane.
It's been insane. It's been insane to watch. PJ and Derrick Jones Jr. have just taken their matchups so seriously. good defense again from Luka and Kyrie.
Yeah.
I'm excited to watch back and to see some of the things that we got from them. But Luka got a couple steals, and like we just saw great defense from both of them, just taking care of business and not needing help, not needing help defense.
And that has changed everything.
It really has.
There was one possession, I think it was in the third quarter, I don't remember the exact, but Norman Powell hit a three. And it felt like the Mavericks defense of old, where somebody's driving to the rim. I don't remember who it was specifically, but it felt like there's three guys converging. And it was Norman, it might have been Norman Powell driving, and he kicked it out. Either way, three guys converged. And it was like, oh, so much overhelping just happened, because I think they're just, in the past, we're so used to that.
Yeah. And
they just don't have to do that anymore. And, there's still going to be some plays exactly like that where, you overhelp maybe and you leave a guy open for three. And Luka's been like, don't overhelp. And when Luka makes a defensive stand, and he made a defensive stand in the fourth quarter where he's talking to the Clippers bench and the crowd's just going crazy. I mean,
it's a beautiful thing.
It really is.
It's a beautiful thing to watch and to witness. The Clippers kind of went on a run though. Clippers put on their best run. They went on like a 17-5 stretch in the third quarter. They cut it to 6 at one point. That was the closest they kind of got it. But the Clippers offense, you mentioned this is a bad loss for the Clippers. The Clippers have a lot of questions. Before we get into some of the Mavs stuff, I just want to go over Kawhi Leonard played 24 minutes in this game. He played like 6 minutes to start the game and then sat out for a long time. Yeah. I'm not sure. I don't think Kawhi Leonard is right. Like, I don't think that he's in a good physical state right now. For him to only play 24 minutes in this game where they couldn't get any offense, couldn't get a lot going, that's not a good sign at all for them.
I was just about to say, if he sits another game in the series, that would not shock me at all.
Yeah, I would not be surprised either.
Because he just does not look – he like – if you did not watch basketball at all and you watch this game, you would think he's just a role player.
Yeah, like him and Terrence Mann are like the same.
Yeah, like they're not even looking at him offensively, really, even.
No.
It's not even part of their game plan, so it would not shock me at all if Kawhi sits another game in the series.
And another thing that I'm really liking about what the Mavericks are doing, but the Clippers should be concerned, James Harden, 44 minutes in this game, and he has to carry a lot of the offensive burden. He only took 13 shots in this game, but he's 5 of 8 from 3 and hit a bunch of them.
He hit some tough shots.
How many did he even take in the second half? Didn't feel like a lot. He took 4 shots in the second half total. But they rely on him for a lot of their offense, and they're having him guard a lot too. And he's the one that's worn down in series before.
Who even shot a lot in the second half for them? Because Paul George was in foul trouble the entire time. Zubats had Paul George went 1 of 6. He's
took 6 shots.
Kawhi 5, but 3-5, no threes attempted. And if Kawhi's hitting those tough contested mid-rangers where you have to make him work a little bit, I think you're 100% okay with that. And that's pretty much what every single one of those makes felt like. And Norman Powell, like, this is where, if I was a Clippers fan, I'd be very concerned because I think I talked about this on here with you, where it's like they're going to get a Norman Powell game at some point, where Norman Powell plays really well, and he did tonight.
4 of 6 from
4 of 6 from 3, 7-11 from the field, 21 points. I mean, for a role guy, that's really good. This was
the Norman Powell game.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. You're going to get that game at some point, and I mean, this is a disastrous loss for the Clippers.
It really is, and they can play a lot better. I mean, they'll regroup, and the Kawhi Leonard thing is concerning for sure.
But the Mavs can play so much better than this.
The Mavs shot 26% from 3.
And Luka, 28% from the field, man.
22 points. That is 12 off of his regular season average.
22 points on 25 shots. And granted, he had that knee thing.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
And that felt very scary because he's at the scores table, bent over, and I'm like, oh my God, is this a real Luka thing? And he came back out, and everyone's like, yeah, Paul Pierce. And then I think he got the ball at the first possession out of the first quarter. He came back in with 6 seconds left in the first quarter, gets the ball immediately, and everyone's like, yeah, and then he turns it over, and I was like, oh.
Luka, about 3 minutes left in the first quarter, he kind of comes down weird on his knee, and then he limps over to the scorer's table, or he just limps around the court, and then he limps over to the scorer's table. He's keeled over, like leaning over the scorer's table.
Scary.
It's a scary looking thing, and then you're like, man, is this a Luka boo-boo? Like, is this just a Luka? Is he injured?
The scorer's table thing made me think, like, this is not a boo-boo.
But then he played it up, and then he went to the bench, and then he sat down on the bench, and the way he was sitting on the bench, and the way he was like wincing in pain, I was watching him. It just didn't look right at all. Then he kind of gets help to the locker room. It wasn't like a full, he's limping back and somebody's like carrying him to the locker room, but he did get some help, go back to the locker room. And then like 2 minutes later, he comes back on the bench, and he's just sitting on the bench, and then he gets back in at the end of the first quarter. So you're like, all right, he's going to play, and he's good. But it's another knee thing where you just, it is concerning.
Yeah, he's obviously not 100%, and I think any, knee bump or whatever the case may be, falling on it weird or whatever is going to aggravate it a little bit. So, it's interesting because I think we talked about this at the top of the show. I can't remember if we talked about it before we went live or what, but I felt like Luka had a pretty, shooting-wise it was rough, but it felt like he kind of figured out the defense a little bit. His playmaking felt really solid, and you know you're getting the Luka game at some point.
I mean, you'd think so.
You would think. I mean, you would think in the playoffs, it's a 7-game series. Every 7 game is a Luka game, but you're gonna get the game where he starts 4 of 6 from 3, and it's just like, if that game comes on Sunday here in the American Airlines Center, and the crowd's going crazy, and it's a 15-point game in the first quarter. This is kind of where I'm feeling with this series, being here and watching. It's just like, this just feels like such a different Mavs team where they're just locked in, loaded. They don't feel scared at all. Like
you have a baseline with this Mavs team.
Yeah.
In Mavs teams in the past, you did not have this same kind of floor
Right.
where, all right, we know the bottom is just not going to completely fall out. Now, it kind of did in the first game with their offense, but that's just such an unprecedented quarter.
But their second half was so much better, though.
Yeah,
it wasn't like they just
their second half was better. It's just such an unprecedented quarter for them. But you have the baseline with the defense that you know at least you can bring that.
Yeah.
And if Luka and Kyrie are locked in and the other players are locked in, you at least have that part of it. But what can they do above that? And in this game, they got the role player involvement, and that was absolutely massive. They got a ton of role player involvement, and man, they play better at home.
They do. And you watch like the Lakers and Nuggets series, and it's like the Lakers just roll over. Like you can just sense that in that series that they just feel something. When the Nuggets start to go on a run or something, they just are like, oh, we just lost. We just lost the game. Like we've been here 100 times. We know exactly how this ends. With this one, the Clippers go on that run in the third quarter. It's a 6-point game, and it feels kind of, the stadium's like, oh, like this doesn't feel that good. Luka's kind of struggling a little bit. Like we need to get some offense going. And then, they just bounce back, play defense, and it's defense to offense. It's transition offense off of steals, off of blocks, off of whatever the case may be. And, man, I mean, they just grind out wins. Like, it's just, they really do. They take great pride in it, too.
Yes.
You can just sense it. Markieff Morris is, like, running out. Hey, if you guys haven't been to a Mavs game and you're always questioning Markieff Morris, let me tell you right now, after being here, he is, like, literally sprinting from the bench to the other end of the court in timeouts, like, getting everyone hyped. Like, he's really that guy.
He's involved, for sure.
Yeah,
and the Mavs bench is standing up because they know they're not going to complain about
Right.
They're not going to complain about the Theo Pinson rule at that point, so they're standing up. Were you surprised we never really got a full Kyrie Irving run? I kept waiting for it to happen.
Well, it kind of did happen, though. That end of the third quarter, that felt like that put the game away. That's about when it was a 6-point game, and Kyrie had 2 points.
8 points in the third quarter.
And it was like, and that was all within like the last 3 minutes or so. And it was like, Kyrie Irving, hello. And just watching the game, it just felt like it felt like almost there, like, Luka, this is going to be your game. Like, you're going to score 40-plus points and carry us home. And it didn't happen. And then Kyrie just took over. He had an and one, had a crazy, insane 3.
Oh.
End of shot clock. That absolutely felt like the dagger whenever he hit that. And that's just what having a guy like that does. It's not a good game for him numbers-wise or anything like that. But, yeah, he had that stretch in the last 2 minutes or so of the third quarter. And that was the game almost. Like, they still had a double-digit lead going to the fourth, and what was that?
The pose from PJ was at 10-24. You felt like left in the game, and you felt like the Mavs were starting to gain some momentum.
Yeah.
Josh Green gets a steal right after that, and Luka throws it up to PJ in transition for an alley-oop, which was massive.
That was great.
Clippers called timeout because it was a 19-point lead. And then after that timeout, Kyrie comes out and hits that buzzer beater that he just threw up from the left side. I mean, just an absolute prayer of a shot, but he still hit it. And they were up 21, and you kind of felt like that was it.
Yeah,
like that's what you were saying. Like it was just it at that point because the Clippers' offense could not get enough going.
And that's, there's always that PTSD in the back of your brain. But really, it's watching this team, it's like, I don't think they're giving up a 20-point fourth quarter lead. Like, I don't think this team is going to do that.
The baseline.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like, they're going to play defense hard, and they're going to do all these different things. And Kyrie has this, like, speaking of baseline, Kyrie has this baseline jumper where it's like, I don't remember when he hit it, but he had 2 guys on him. But the corner was open, and both guys were on his left, and he just dribbles it right to the baseline and pulls it up. It's just such an unguardable shot. And I've been working on that shot. I was working on it today.
Oh, you were on the court before?
At LA, not here. LA Fitness.
Speaking of LA, the crowd, 10 times more into it than they were in LA. I mean, I was in the lower bowl for this game too. I was in the lower bowl here. It's the energy is just so different. They're compared to Mavericks fans, there are not Clippers fans.
Yeah,
it is not comparable, those two.
The crowd felt insane to me. I mean, this is the first time I've been here in a long time, but it felt everyone was into it, and there's just something about the defensive plays, man. When there's a block or a steal, and it's just like the crowd is just so juiced because that's how you win games, and everyone knows it. Like, even the most casual basketball fan understands that you got to play basketball. Like, you have to play defense. So like if you're giving up a 123 defensive rating, and you're just giving up points every time down the floor, and you hit a three, it's like, oh, well, they're about to give up a three on the other end.
What team would do that like every single game for the last 3 years?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. And everyone can sense it, where it's like the Mavs go on like a 6-0 run, and it's like, oh my God, like they might put this game out of reach right now.
It was amazing. It was a great win for the Mavericks, and they go up 2-1 now. So we'll keep following this, and we'll be back on Sunday to talk more about the Mavs Game 4. I'm excited to see how they come out in that one, if they take the foot off the gas, because they've done that in the past, and we've seen them. They did it in Game 1, and so I'm hopeful that they won't do that, but we'll have that all covered. Go listen to Slightly Biased on his Slightly Biased YouTube channel. Luka, unblock Slightly Biased. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked on Mavs.
Mavs in 5, baby.
Boom!
Is the music going? I can't tell.
Let it ride.
Oh, okay.
Let it ride.